So the attack can come from the sea, like it happened on 26/11/2008, or it can come from the air, or it can be on the land. So these Indian Mujahideen who had gone to Pakistan and learnt everything, this is all from the land. Jaipur 2008, a series of bomb blasts, Mumbai, and so many things like that.
Temple is not a monument. You do not go there, erect a pillar and leave. That is a monument. If a temple is there, it means that there must have been an Archak community. It means that there must have been a community of followers who would support that Archak community so that temple ecosystem could have been sustained. So a few hundred years ago, there were Hindus in Vietnam, there were Hindus in Cambodia, there were Hindus in Bali.
What I'm saying is, all the stories which we'll hear of the past, which we are trying to actually translate and take out of, should help us to actually cohere, not to divide. Because internal security is all about maintaining unity.
So ladies and gentlemen, special guest and fellow attendees, I'm delighted to have you back with us after a short break. I hope you had some time to relax and are now prepared for interesting and thoughtful discussion. We are eager to hear and engage in a meaningful session.
Today, we come together to dive into a very important topic on internal security challenges confronted by various states of India. Our incredible country is a mixture of different languages, cultures, and traditions. And sometimes these differences create a special security challenges. Our discussion today aims to help us understand these problems better and find a way to solve them.
As we initiate our enlightening journey, allow us to begin with a shloka from the sacred verse of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna imparts timeless journey. Yada yada shi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthyanam adharmasya tadadarasi sada gruhe.
This sloka reminds us that whenever there is a decline in righteousness and an upsurge in unrighteousness, the divine incarnates to restore harmony.
Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our distinguished scholar, Mr. Pranav Patel, Senior Executive Officer from Partha Ghosh Academy of Leadership, to introduce our esteemed speaker who will navigate us through this enlightening session.
Thank you everyone. It's a great honor to introduce our speakers for the next event. We're going to have a little different format. We're going to invite all of our speakers to come and share their experiences first for a few minutes, and then later on we'll gather for the panel discussion. So to first introduce the first speaker who's going to be there, he is a former IPS officer, a former professor of economics, a former security advisor to the Reserve Bank of India, co-author of a national bestseller book, and founder of an NGO that feeds the poor. He is Mr. D. Sivanandhan. To tell you more, Mr. Sivanandhan has a remarkable career spanning over 4 decades in the field of law enforcement, security, and public service. He joined the IPS in 1976 and before that worked as a professor of economics in Madras University. In the state of Maharashtra, he served for 35 years and retired as the DGP of the state. He worked for Intelligence Bureau for 6 years and also served as Joint Director of CBI West Zone for 3 years. He served as Deputy Inspector General of Police of Naxal-affected police range of Nagpur for 3 years. He also served as Additional CP Crime and Joint CP Crime in Mumbai City, where he had the opportunity of eliminating the rule of the infamous Mumbai Mafia completely. A popular movie called Company was made on this theme. He also worked for 6 years as Commissioner of Police for 3 important cities in Maharashtra, that is Nagpur, Thane and Mumbai. He also foolproofed arrangements for making Mumbai a safe city after the 26/11 attack in 2008. After retirement, he worked in the NSCS as member of the Special Task Force for assessing the internal and external security of India. This was headed by Shri Naresh Chandra IAS. Later, he worked as a security advisor to Reserve Bank of India from 2012 to 2015. Now, he is running an NGO called the Roti Bank in Mumbai with 6 other branches and have served 1.3 crore fresh meals free of cost to the poor. He is also co-author to a national bestseller book called The Chanakya 7 Secrets of Leadership with Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. Mr. Sivanandhan is not only a distinguished officer, a former professor, a former security advisor, but also a passionate and inspiring leader. He is known for his courage, integrity, wisdom, and vision. He has made insignificant contribution to India's law and order, security, and development, as well as the welfare and empowerment of the needy. He is widely respected and admired for his knowledge, experience, service, and generosity. We are honored to have you here, sir. I would like our AV team to play a short video, which is a short documentary on the works which he has done.
Born to a humble family in a small village near Coimbatore, Sivanandhan started his career as a professor in the Madras University. He found his true calling in IPS and joined the Maharashtra cadre. During his tenure, he was posted at several places all over the state.
State Intelligence and the Intelligence Bureau for 6 years. Then 6 years in the Mumbai Crime Branch, and 3 years in the Naxalite area as the Deputy Inspector General of Police, and 3 years as the Joint Director CBI West Zone, and then 6 years as Commissioner of Police. I was not only for Mumbai, I was there before Nagpur, and then Thane for 3.5 years.
His most notable contribution was during his stint as the Additional Commissioner in the Mumbai Crime Branch, where the underworld was thriving in the city of Mumbai and brought it to its knees.
When I had just joined here, there were 20 shootouts in a month. There was definitely a complete fear psychosis gripping the city. Marriages were not taking place. Restaurants used to close early in the evening. Everybody was putting himself in the shoes of a victim. At the time, my job I assigned to myself was to stop the blood flowing on the streets. 1,600 guns were removed, and 1,600 approximately of detentions which the police commissioner had the power. We have sent an appropriate signal now in Mumbai that crime does not pay.
A very popular Bollywood movie, Company, was also made, starring Mohanlal as Sivanandhan. After another massive blow to the city of Mumbai, the terror attacks of 26/11, Sivanandhan was brought to take charge as the commissioner of the city and revamp the whole system and prepare it in case of another such eventuality.
I went to Israel, met the commander-in-chief, brought a trainer, and trained 1,500 men in Pune and other places to form part of the QRT. We have got a Force One, which I helped in grooming and developing. I spent so much money on them. There are 235 of them. And then we have a NSG, 235 of them waiting in Marol. So with this kind of help, the men, when I joined, they said, we will do anything. The commandos who are existing, they said, we'll do anything. We'll barge in and take action against them.
After retiring as the Director General of Police Maharashtra, he continued his fight to save the city. This time for the hungry with his initiative, the Roti Bank.
So I have seen how the street children are now going around and not getting any adequate help and food and education and all that. And I also thought that this poverty and this kind of a thing growing at this rate can increase crime rate. If you want to control crime as a cop, I thought we should take care of these people and also ameliorating this poverty which is going galloping kind of a thing.
Let us salute this great man for all his continued contributions to the city of Mumbai and the nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for D. Sivanandhan sir. Sir, please, with you.
Good evening, friends. Thank you so much for inviting me, Pranav Patel, and all others who are involved, the Partha Ghosh Academy of Leadership. And thank you so much, my co-panelists also, and all others. It's a great chance given to me to talk about this leadership. The subject given is national security and strong leadership. General Menon told me we have to focus more on strong leadership than otherwise. Can we have this thing? So we'll focus on that. Since the people, the co-panelists are much more qualified than me to talk about other things, I thought I'll take only about certain aspects of it. It's an entire gamut of things we can talk until tomorrow morning. But since time is given only 20 minutes, I'll take only 2-3 aspects of it. The others will cover the rest of it. I'm not going to talk about the external security. I'll speak about the police and police functions. And 1 or 2 case studies where I am involved, what I was asked to do that. So in the strong leaders, to cut short all the other things, we need to have honesty. James Collins, good to great. If you read, it is humility which is emphasized, and then integrity, empathy, and self-confidence, and various other visionary leadership and things like that. That is what is needed. Either you are a general in Manipur or in Israel, as of today, Bibi Netanyahu or his commander-in-chief of the army or various others. We need all these qualities. You have been seeing since yesterday what is happening between Hamas and Israel. I went there multiple times and learned a lot from them, took their help. They came free of cost, they trained my commandos and things like that. So these are the things needed. Passion, resilience, accountability, and like you have power, you can't think that you are not accountable to anyone. So these are all the qualities which a strong leader would have. And sometimes I wonder whether even a God would have all these things. So what is national security is a concept that a government, along with its parliament, should protect the state and its citizens against all kinds of national crises through a variety of power projections such as political power, diplomacy, economic power, military might, etc. I told you it's a combination of so many things. What's happening in Manipur or what's happening in J&K, what happened in Punjab during the Punjab terrorism, or Bodo, ULFA, Ulfa, and Naxalism. It started from this state and went all over, engulfing the entire national corridor and things like that. They all would be there. I just showed this map so that we can show that the security not only involves just having one particular aspect to protect the national security. We have a 7,600 kilometers coast. So the attack can come from the sea, like it happened on 26/11/2008, or it can come from the air, or it can be on the land. So these Indian Mujahideen who had gone to Pakistan and learnt everything, this was all from the land. Jaipur 2008, a series of bomb blasts, Mumbai, and so many things like that. So we have to give a 360 degrees coverage. And anything can happen anytime, and somebody will say, I told you before. These kind of alerts do come all the time. I said so kind of alerts. So even about Hamas attack on Israel, they say it's an intelligence failure. But after these 7,000 tons of explosives was blown in Gaza, in that godown by allegedly Israelis, an attack of this nature is bound to come. So the intelligence is there, but then when it is going to come is what is not known. Nobody can tell you that. So these are the things which I would like to cover. That is external aggression that General Menon and all others will speak. Terrorism, Jammu and Kashmir, aided and abetted by our westerly neighbor, Punjab. Even now we can see that Khalistani movement in Canada. I'll show you the next slide. And I mean, it's a dead issue, but then they are keeping it alive. And what happened at the time, of course, is terrible. I spent quite a lot of time in Punjab at the time. And then Ulfa, then Bodo, Naxalite Maoists, that is from 1972. Mr. Manmohan Singh, when he was the Prime Minister, he said, it is the biggest internal security problem the country has ever faced. 40% of the country was occupied by the Red Corridor. That is Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, then Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, then Orissa, then Bihar, then Jharkhand, then Bengal. This is the area which was covered at the time. Then organized crime is a very big. I'll show you in the next part of the presentation how it can happen. Then cyber terrorism is the biggest problem. I'm not going to talk more about cyber terrorism. But what is happening now in between Zelensky and Vladimir Putin is all about cyber war or cyber terrorism. What happened in Hamas is also the same thing. It is all related to cyber. The future wars will all take place through cyber technology. The cheap missiles are going from the Gaza Strip, and the most expensive protective equipment is working on Israel's side. So the cost of war would go up just by using Javelin kind of a drone. Entire Russian army has been crippled. The war was supposed to last only 3 days. It's going on for the second year full. Canadian organized crime is what we are going to speak now. And these are the guys who are involved in that Khalistani movement, which is not there in Punjab. No Punjabi is ever talking about Khalistani, but these kind of guys are all doing that. This is, I'm showing not about this Nijar or anybody like that. I'm showing about regular organized criminal syndicate. And these guys have been killing people now. Even they lobbed a missile at the state intelligence headquarters in Punjab recently, and things like that. Look at the entire gamut of people. They are challenging the might of the Indian government, sitting there and inciting people here. So, mine is about about one or two case studies I will give where I was involved. The first one is about the Babri Masjid breaking down on December 6, 1992. The first riot in Mumbai took place. That was the minority community coming and attacking the others, the police. It was quelled by the police with as much efficiency and alacrity you can ever think of. Then there was a gap of 15-20 days, 3 weeks. But by mid-January, another thing was provoked, this time by the Shiv Sainiks, who were ruling the Bombay Municipal Corporation for the last 30-35 years. Even today they are there. So they knew the entire location of all these shops and places where they live and all that, because they got the list. Then these people came and attacked them like Sri Krishna report. If you read, you will know what kind of a role the police played and things like that. And there was a issue about equality as to how do you set an equation. So there was a conspiracy in Dubai. Now Ibrahim was approached by those people, and then he said, okay, now I'll help you to set these matters at a level playing field. So what happened? ISI was approached, and ISI landed with the help of Dawood Ibrahim, because he knows the whole place. He's a son of a Havaldar, and then he knows from Ratnagiri, hailing from Ratnagiri, coastal district. 4,000 kilograms of RDX was landed, brought in. 2,000 AK-47s. We went on recovering even now. And then you have 2,000 hand grenades, AK-47, ammunition, all sorts of things landed at one time. The national security is threatened by corruption. The customs guys knew about that. One additional collector, Somnath Thapa, was told about it, and they settled it for a price. So national security is actually a big challenge, is the corruption which is prevailing. For example, IC-814, all the Pakistanis came and stayed in Mumbai and took passports. This Masood's brother got 2 passports. Captain Attar is his name. 2 passports, all in Hindu names. What? 200, 300 rupees corruption by the police and various other people who are verifying. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, would be our biggest challenge. So in about an hour and a half, we had 12 blasts, 257 dead. 1,000 odd people were injured. Hundreds of crores of worth was blown up in smoke. This is the biggest ever terrorist attack which happened in the world by that time. 9/11 happened much later. This is 93 I'm talking about. That is 2001. So then Americans came. They did come. I went along. I was in the Intelligence Bureau Deputy Director in Mumbai. I went with them. We gave them a gunny bag full of evidence, because all the equipment had come, which all had packed condition from a cantonment called WAH cantonment, W-A-H, WAH cantonment, and they were all produced. The hand grenades were all produced there, from Austria, the origin, and produced in there. But all that happened, the Americans didn't do anything about it. But later, they had to wake up with the 9/11 call. So this is what happened at that time. And then these are all the places it happened. It was coordinated. It was done by this Tiger Menon, Yaqub Menon and those people. But then they hastened to do it a few days ahead of the planning. So they left lot of telltale evidence, and the detection was done by the Mumbai Crime Branch. And this is how the place looked. So injuries and a lot of people just evaporated. In 2 buses in Century Bazaar at Worli, buses just vanished because the RDX is so powerful. We recovered 3,700. They used only 300 kilograms. 3,700 we recovered and neutralized that. And 2,000 weapons were there, unused. They didn't fire that time. Only blasts had taken place. We had to recover over a long period of time all over the country. And this Sanjay Dutt was involved in that. 2 trucks were parked in his house. He had 5 AKs and hand grenades with him. So this is how the place looked. This is 1993. He was one of those persons guilty. Lot of watering down has been done in the charge against him in the Tada case. But then he served 6.5 years. This is how these places looked. You can see these mangled buses. And it was terrible. It was terrible. Imagine what would have happened if they had used more RDX than what they had used. We recovered lots of scooters loaded with RDX, but they didn't. They were not blasted. So then this trial went for years and years and years, decades. Even now, the trial is going on in appeal in the Supreme Court. But then we got conviction after 14, 15, 17 years. We got conviction. Quite a few guys died there in between. Abu Salam ran away to Portugal. We brought him much later from there, and he has been convicted. And this is the story about that. Now, what we are talking about is organized crime, whether it is working in now Canada or the organized crime syndicates working in Mumbai. All the guys we have pruned in Mumbai or in India, all over the place. Whereas the guys sitting in Karachi, Daud Ibrahim, or Chota Rajan in Cambodia, Malaysia, and other places, they are a very big security threat. Now Chota Rajan is in Tihar jail. He has come through Bali and he is settled here. But the syndicate is there. They are not very violent, but then their presence is there. So that is one big problem for national security, which I handled. I was part of it. I was the additional CP crime when the investigation and charge sheeting was done. So later it went to CBI. There also I was there as Joint Director CBI, STF, Special Task Force. We investigated the case and charge sheeted. This is the movie Once Upon a Time. These are the guys who were all there, India, abroad and things like that. They staged a war, international fight in Bangkok, September 2000, on the birthday of this Chota Rajan, the guy with the down below center. Then they assembled a gang of people who go with sophisticated weapons and attacks on Chota Rajan. And that was arranged from Karachi. And then the case has been going on and on. A guy involved in that called Munna Zingada, he spent in Thailand 23 years. Now he has been sent to Pakistan, even though he belongs to Mumbai, because of the various passport and identity claim and various things like that. He is the son of a Havaldar and 7th in 12 children produced by Ibrahim Havaldar, and then uneducated and ran away during a murder trial. And blood flew on the streets of Mumbai because of the ding-dong battle between various gangs. And that was the national security. And he uses his connections even now all over the place for either, 2611, there is no allegation, but there is a suspicion that he did help them. Because otherwise, what is he doing in Karachi? What is the help he is rendering to ISI? So he is Abu Salam and then Portugal, and we brought him. He is convicted. He is in Taloja jail and things like that. Chota Rajan broke away from Daud Ibrahim, went there in Cambodia, and all sorts of weapons and this, that, and all that. A local elected MLA under Moka, he is there. He shot so many ruling party people. The mandate given to me was to eliminate all of them because all the BJP, Shiv Sena, MLAs and others were being shot when they were in power. I'm talking about 95, 98, 99. That is, Manohar Joshi was the CM and Gopinath Munde from BJP was the Deputy CM and Home Minister. These guys, together, they did that. And Ashwin Naik is a VJTI engineering graduate, has become a gangster, waist below paralyzed. Amar Naik is the elder brother. And then this is man who did the JJ hospital shootout in 1992. Took AK-47s and fired 657 rounds in a 10 by 10 hospital ward, where 2 accused were tied to the bed, and 6 policemen and 1 officer was protecting them, and 2 policemen were shot dead, and then the accused was also shot dead. He's a terror. He's from in the neighboring area, Varanasi. He is our kidnapping king from Lucknow, a postgraduate and a lawyer and things like that. He wouldn't take anything less than 5 crores. Of course, no violence. This is the Mania Survey, shootout at Wadala, you have seen the movie. Shootout at Lokhandwala, you have seen the movie. Mr. A. Khan became famous in that. So this is how in the court, now it is happening in Delhi, Rohini court, repeatedly people are getting shot. In Lucknow, people are getting shot. This happened in Mumbai. This is a past game for us. So here, these are all these gangsters from Dawood Ibrahim. But if you see the audacity, look at the date, 6th September. These guys who were shot them were brought on 30th September. Police was there, judge was there, everyone was there, but they didn't care a damn. They walked in and shot the other group also. Can you believe that? So that is how. Then another one is that Ashwin Nayak I showed you, VJTI. He was shot, waist below, he is paralyzed. But again, corruption as a national security threat. They took money, allowed him to go away to Canada. And to London and back to Delhi. Delhi, under the judicial protection, he got his wife shot dead because she was having an affair with a police constable. So corruption is the biggest problem for the national security. This guy was shot dead in the police lockup, Jacob Circle, and this is a date. The biggest gangster of that time. He's not a gangster, but he was shot dead because being a tough trade. The Gulshan Kumar T-series. That this is Rama Nayak, one of the biggest gangsters of that time, shot dead. Mania Surve and all that I had shown you earlier. These are all the builders with 800 crores to 1000 crores. They were shot. But after our operation, the strong leadership, as you would call that, stopped it. From 98 onwards, no builder has been shot. From 2001, none. These are the financiers, hoteliers and others. They were also shot dead. This guy, serial number 4, was sitting outside a place called Royal Challenge, is his own hotel perhaps. 47 times he was fired upon on the chair. He was sitting on a steel chair. He was pinned to that. Imagine the cruelty and the vengeance which these people, terror, basically terror for collecting extortion money. So then these are the film people. For example, Rajiv Roy is alive. He ran away to USA. He came back and asked to produce movies with Monica Bedi, girlfriend of Abu Salam. He did. Then this man, Rakesh Roshan, shot in the arm just to collect more money. They did. So some of them are dead, some of them are alive. But then the Bollywood was their favorite PlayStation. They used to play. Have their director, music director, actresses, all sorts of access they had. People, one day, 83 of them, including Mithun Chakravarti, went to Dubai to dance in the 12-year-old girl, Dawood Ibrahim's daughter's birthday, came back next day morning. We asked them questions. He said, yes. Now, when they summon and do that, we have to go, what is the protection for us? We did. Now, what do you want to do? That is how it is happening. So, by the end of it, the gangsters ruled Mumbai. No cars were sold. No flats were sold. Everything came to it became a Beirut. The task given, this is the Samajwadi Party guy. He filed a petition where a judge looked into the shootouts, encounters, and said 95 encounters were murders. That is where the Mumbai police came to a grinding halt. And then we did that turnaround story. We did all that kind of things since time is not there. As the introductory film said, we detained thousands of people. That years were spent behind the bar. These are all the tactics. Firearms seized was 2,500 actually. We mentioned 1,600 of that, actually 2,500. New law was made, MCOCA. Now, the proposed new IPC has section 109 and 110. Without all the precautionary steps we have introduced, they have brought it in the regular IPC. It's going to be very, very dangerous because anybody can be arrested under organized crime and you will not get bail at all. And the protection which is given in the MCOCA is just not there. So here is the steps we had taken. And they shot people. After this encounter petition, we won that in the High Court and Supreme Court. And after that, the police also, when they shot somebody and the police went prepared after all the training and they went there, encounters did take place and people were replied suitably under section 100 of the Indian Penal Code. They did exchange fire. So these are all the figures. For example, this is the businessman shot. 101 businessmen in 1 year means every 3 days or 3.5 days, a top man with a few tens of crores would be shot dead. Imagine the kind of panic there. So we had to bring it down and it came down. So it came down like this by the steps: strong leadership, honesty, integrity, and you don't take money and you don't compromise and focus on the goals given to you. Then you do that, it came down by this. From, ladies and gentlemen, glad to inform, from 2002 to now, 2023, not a single shootout by criminals have happened, as well as the other way around. In the sense, if they don't shoot a businessman or a policeman, then why are police going to shoot anybody at all? So this is how we guaranteed national security as well as the organized crime control was done. This is that a short one. I will stop at that. And here is that people who had come. This is a small area of operation. This is how they came from Murdike in Karachi, where 400 youngsters were trained. They were tough as army. I saw all of them. 9 dead bodies, 1 alive. Kasab. So they were all tough as military men. And this is where they landed, and this is where they operated. This is that CST, that is Chhatrapati Shivaji VT station, and no bulletproof jacket, nothing. And neither we had nor they had, frankly. Police was also not prepared. In spite of all the specific intelligence, they were not prepared. I don't know why. That is where the strong leadership was lacking. And they came, one-way ticket. Their rubber boat was also destroyed on arrival. And all other boats, they killed that Amar Solanki who came from Porbandar. So nothing to go back. They came here to kill and die. So this is where that Tukaram Omle took all the bullets with a lathi in his hand and arrested this fellow Kasab. So gallantry, there is no short of gallantry. These 3 top officers like ATS Chief Hemant Karkare and Ashok Kamte and Salaskar, all of them rushed to the scene without fully being briefed. That's where the leadership failed, and they were all shot dead. Unfortunately, 16 policemen and 2 NSG, Major Unnikrishnan and Haldar Gajendra Singh, were shot dead. And that is total chaos prevailed, and that is where Barbar, I have to say, strong leadership is necessary for clear. This is where that Tukaram Omle stopped, and one Iqbal was shot dead there. There were 2, and they went on changing. They took the police car when they killed the ATS chief and others, and it failed, so they took one more Skoda. This is where they were stopped and arrested. Look at this. I mean, because of indecisive leadership, the press was allowed to run like wild elephants. They trampled upon everything, and this is how. Otherwise, under 144, he could have prevented them and put them 5 kilometers away and go on briefing them. And in the latest SOP which I wrote, we mentioned, if at all anything like that, inshallah, it should not happen. If it happens, they should remember the SOP, that the press has to be kept at a reasonable distance. So here, this is how it happened. The additional chief secretary home was stuck in that. She was brought in the ladder because she had gone for attending marriage. And this is how they used their this energy. This 600 crores loss, the heritage part of the Mumbai. Of course, insurance paid for it, but imagine the reputational loss. In that corner, the general manager Kang, Karamveer Khan's wife and 2 boys, 10 to 15 years, 2 boys, were burnt alive. And the man was working in the lobby. He was rescuing people. The story of Taj people is absolutely fantastic. And Oberoi also, hundreds of people were removed. Fantastic people. They were much more dedicated and organized. This is that Barkadat and various others informed on the 4th day and the last day. And the people who were sleeping were woken up from Karachi. That guy is also from Maharashtra, a boy from Beed called Abu Jundal. So he woke up these people saying that dekho rappelling mein aa raha hai niche. Before that guy came, Gajendra Singh was shot dead on arrival. So this is where that rabbi and his wife were there, Israeli. This is the place where they used to get kosher khana. So that is the place. And this is how they were coming on the last day. That is where I said the unlimited access to the press should have been controlled. So that is where the strong leadership comes. So these are the Oberoi. This is that boy, Moshe. 2 years old. An Indian nanny had saved him. Now he is 16 years old. He comes once in a way to Mumbai, and they gave her the highest civilian award in Israel. So this is that Ajbal Kasab. I had interrogated him 4.5 years later with the utmost fair trial. He was hung. He was hung. A lot of people criticize. Someone said, "Oh, biryani kyun khilaya and all that." No, it is as per the jail manual. Jo bhi likha hai wo diya tha. Biryani nahi tha. Whatever was the jail manual. So these are the people we erected a. So how did we respond? We created thousands of men from Israel. We brought them and trained them, and we deployed BDDS. Instead of 1, we had 13 of them, and then we brought this kind of bulletproof jackets we borrowed. So this is how we made a foolproof city. These are weapons were missing. Actually, 303 was there. Of course, 2000 AK-47 was there. The leader did not recognize the presence of the commandos and the AK-47. And then we brought all this sniper. I did all that, 263 crores. And we brought this is the fourth one, equivalent of energy. And I created all these things. And these people are all in place. Touch wood. Since then, nothing has happened. But then this is all done by me without any cost from the government. So this is built free of cost in Thane because we wanted to change the policeman's education free of cost. I collected the money and at a reputational cost I built. So that gymnasium is worth 1 crore, a hospital and everything, again 5.5 crores, people paid for it. These are all the facilities we give. So to bring a transformational change, we need leadership endowed with honesty, grit, determination, nationalism and patriotism. And if corruption is there, it is the biggest chink in the armor. Battle of Plassey or anything where an insider had only opened the door, allowed the British or anybody else to come and do that. This is again, hunger is gnawing hunger inside the stomach is also going to be a national security problem. So I started this NGO and this is a food saving mission. Excess food in gatherings on a phone call to go there and come COVID, all gatherings stopped. So we started producing. That is the time we were supposed to wind up and sit at home. No, we produced 47,000 meals when the curfew was there. Because that is the time khana was needed. That is the time the laborers were moving in millions. Millions of people were moving from south to north. And that is where we had to give khana. Look at this khana we gave. This morning we went and met these Adivasis. I promised to give this kind of a food to the school children as long as I gave 1 lakh. I told 1 lakh of rupees I can give you tomorrow. But if it is continuing, I am going to support them as much as we can. So this is what we do. This is the amount we have done. This is last 4.5 years, ladies and gentlemen. We have touched 1.3 crores in these places. That is Chennai, Coimbatore, Nagpur, then Mumbai, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, and Cuttack. All of them are led by IPS officers of the state. These are the Tata Cancer Hospital. Evening and afternoon, we give them meals. And we give them rice, roti, dal, sabji in abundant quantities, as much as they want. We are focusing on school children to build a new Bharat, a Tandurust Bharat, Swastha Bharat. So 12,000 meals we give every day. 6,500 goes to the children with fortified with nutritional powder. We add that and give it to them so that they don't suffer from stunting and wasting. These are the two malnutritional impact. They are saved from there. So with this, I thank you for giving this opportunity, and later on, I'll answer any questions if there are any. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I come from the city of Mumbai, and if someone asks me who is my hero in life, I have my real life hero who is here. So, thank you, sir. You are a blessing, and people like you are an inspiration, and I would say, as I said, you are a blessing to all of us. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Wow. So the next speaker, sir, I'm going to call someone a little lighter because this is going to be it was too heavy dose for all of us in internal security. So let's do a little lighter, but a little serious issue which we'll touch base upon. So our next speaker, whom we're going to have, is a scholar of history, Hindu architecture, Indian art, literature, history, and culture. He is also an avid researcher and writer on various topics related to cultural and anthropology, evolutionary biology, and ecology. He has traveled extensively across India and documented the ancient Hindu temples and their architectural marvels. He has been contributing to various prints and online media platforms with his insightful article, research papers, and reviews. He is Mr. Pankaj Saxena. Something more about him? Mr. Saxena has a keen interest and expertise in the study of Bharatiya culture and civilization. He has visited more than 1,200 sites of ancient Hindu temples and photographed the evidence of their glorious heritage. He has been writing articles, research papers, and reviews in various print and online newspapers and magazines such as Indiafacts, Indic Today, Swarajya, Sirf News, etc. He maintains a blog called Literary Falcon, where he shares his thoughts and opinions on various issues. Mr. Saxena has also served as an academician and a mentor of many Indic scholars and students. He works as an assistant professor, Center of Indic Studies, Indus University, Ahmedabad. There he was there for 5 years, in which he co-curated the creation of more than 200 talks and 12 full-time online courses of great Indic scholars. He worked as a director of the Center of Culture Leadership, housed under the Rashtraam School of Public Leadership. Presently, he is co-founder and director, Cultural Research at Brhat. Mr. Saxena has formulated the theory of Swayambodha and Shatrubodha, which is a conceptual framework to analyze the base analysis through process that are necessary to defend and profound Bharatiya culture and civilization. He has spoken in multiple forums on this topic and has millions of views on YouTube. He explains how the sense of othering works and why Swayambodha and Shatrubodha is necessary to identify the enemy within. He has also curated the cultural cause of the distribution in the Northeast, why and how the demographic changes and what are their impact on internal security. Mr. Saxena is also well versed in the role of social and cultural Marxism in ideological subvention, galvanizing youth to protect and causing internal disturbances, intellectual cover fires for Naxalites and other terrorists. He exposes the hidden agendas and motives behind these forces that are trying to undermine India's unity and integrity. Mr. Saxena is a rare blend of historian, an architect, an artist, a writer, and a thinker. He has made significant contribution to India's culture and civilization studies, as well as the public awareness and education on national and international issues. He is widely respected and admired for his knowledge, experience, wisdom, and vision. We are honored and privileged to have him with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Pankaj Saxena.
Thank you. But I promise I am not even half as boring as my intro sounded. So, had my guru listened to this long of an intro, he would. So, at least this intro should not reach him. The top may. Yesterday, when I came here and we were sitting for dinner, and Jaitly sir he passed by, and Menon sir were also there, and they inquired about me, and they say, the civilian amongst us. And so that's exactly what I'm going to bring to this gathering. What is the point? I do not have the expertise of all of you gentlemen in fighting the enemy at the gates, but I have been to all of the gates. So I will start with a very, very ancient idea, because I deal mostly in ancient things, a very ancient civilizational idea. One of the greatest historians of contemporary India, Sri Sitaram Goyal, wrote a book in Hindi, Saptashil. This is a around 500 pages book, but the gist of it is summarized in those 7 precepts of non-decline. That if a civilization wants to stand and stands long, what are the 7 principles of non-decline that are there? Dr. Els, who was there with us yesterday, has summed it up beautifully in many talks and many articles. We do not need to go into all of them, but 2 or 3 of those precepts are extremely important for us in this scenario. One is the precept where, so the context is, it is the time of Lord Buddha, and it's very misleading when we think that Buddha only talked about self-enlightenment or self-realization. So there is a general of a neighboring kingdom who comes to Lord Buddha and he says that I've been trying to win over the neighboring kingdom, and my king has been trying to win over the neighboring kingdom for so many years, and we have not even made a dent. So how do we do that? Oh, great one, oh enlightened one. And he says, oh brother, and he asks 7 questions. Are they united? And he says, yes, they are united, oh enlightened one. And one after another, then he says that then know that they can never be defeated. In that, he goes in 6 more consecutive questions. 2 of those questions are, he says, do they still maintain the shrines? Do they still maintain the temples? Which is based on what else says, that Buddha himself was always a Hindu. That though another religion came out on his name, but he remained a Hindu all his life. And then he asks, do they still revere and maintain and support the archakas who work in those temples? So these are and then he says, if they still do, then do know that that country will never be won by anyone else. And if we see the boundaries, of current modern India, somewhere very fortunately and somewhere extremely unfortunately, we see these precepts as coming true. For example, if you see, first of all, there is a geological case for what we call as Akhand Bharat. Of course, the range of Himalayas, when they start from Afghanistan and they end somewhere in Mizoram, and the Chittagong hill tracts, when they come and round up like this, that is natural area of Bharatvarsha. Now we got divided We got divided in the name of religion because an idea which was alien to the idea of Sanatan Dharma came and got itself established in some parts of Bharatvarsh. And Pakistan and India, we got divided. But Western Pakistan, which is not Pakistan, and there was Eastern Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. We see a stark difference between the two borders. On Western borders, there is very little civilian infiltration. Of course, the terrorists come through sometimes, but there is very little infiltration because that area, even though, and once again the culture-nature boundary comes, when there is no natural boundary, there is a religious boundary. Because it's very clear, Rajasthan has one of the longest borders with any other country that we have, and yet there is very little infiltration from there. Compare that border to eastern border, where the religious integrity of Bharatvarsh is integrated a lot and is being integrated, violated as we speak. For example, West Bengal, for example, all the bordering states of the southern rim of the Himalayas. The geological case is that Arunachal Pradesh it is a part of Himalayas. And when China claims that it is a part of Tibet, it's wrong. Tibet is a barren, cold desert. Arunachal Pradesh is thick rainforest, and that is very Bharatiya because Brahmaputra, 80 to 85% of the water of Brahmaputra gets created in Arunachal Pradesh. So it's a very Indian river. The Sangpo, which flows in Tibet, is the same stream, but 85% of what we know as the male river of Brahmaputra, the only male river in our Puranas, it is actually created in Bharatvarsha. That integrity was violated. So when the British identified our borders, they were more or less right on the eastern rim. I'm not talking about the whole of Bharatvarsha. Of course, they helped us violate it by when we got divided. But when they identified what is now Arunachal Pradesh and what was Nefa, they were being right that this is where India lies. Even though the communities that inhabit there, they might originate from somewhere else, but geologically this is part of Bharatvarsh and that should be defended. And then they had a very brilliant idea. They were great geopolitical leaders. In mainland India, they did not directly push conversions. First of all, there was a great pushback, and then their strategy was different. But in the hill regions, all over the hill regions, they directly pushed for conversions to Christianity. When they first planted tea gardens in Assam, and they said that the Nagas and the other tribes, they come down and they attack us, there was a very direct push for conversions. Unfortunately, when we became independent, and their idea was right, that we are a ruling country, we are a ruling nation, we are a ruling civilization. And hills are always borders. Wherever you go, great civilizational borders are hills. Hills are borders and borders should be Christian. They were very clear about it. And that is how, when you see right now, 3 Christian majority states of India, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Nagaland, they are at India's borders. They are at India's borders with Bangladesh and Myanmar. As we speak, great conversion is happening in Arunachal Pradesh. Official records of 2011 say 35%. Other projections say around 50% have already been converted. The hope is there. There is a lot of pushback against it also, and we can assume that 40% to 35% will keep pushing back. But that is, as currently as we speak, that is the scenario that we have in the Northeast. So this idea that the British had, that the borders have to be completely ours religiously, is a correct idea according, if you want to rule a certain region, if you want to maintain the integrity of a certain land. When we became independent, we should have paid attention. That I'm not talking about the conversions are always possible, but I'm talking about cultural integration through religion and ultimately moving them towards a space where they are more integrated. Integrated doesn't mean violence against their ways of living, but integrating them more with the central idea of Sanatan Dharma. And that's where the division of Margi and Desi comes. For example, Nagas in Nagaland are 100% Christian. But there are 4 or 5% Nagas who are not Christian, who live in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. In Arunachal Pradesh, those who converted, there is a certain section which are coming back towards their own roots. That movement is called Hinam Sakua. They worship their own gods and deities, and they say that we take inspiration from Sanatan Dharma, which is the template that you keep living your ways of life and while maintaining the central idea of Sanatan Dharma. So that is the idea that was being pursued by us, and it's a very wrong idea that we did not go for it. There are Hindu temples dedicated to Sri Ram in Upper Vietnam. And let me tell you, culture, a temple is not a monument. You do not go there, erect a pillar and leave. That is a monument. If a temple is there, it means that there must have been an Archak community. It means that there must have been a community of followers who would support that Archak community so that temple ecosystem could have been sustained. So a few hundred years ago, there were Hindus in Vietnam, there were Hindus in Cambodia, there were Hindus in Bali. That happened, we went ahead, we did convince others to accede to the idea, the great idea of Sanatan Dharma. And that is how we spread the era of great humanity and peace, ultimately. That is the idea that we should have pursued. In Northeast also, we kept pursuing it until late 19th century. For a lot of our gurus from various sampradayas, from Gaudiya Vaishnava and then Shakt, they keep going until 19th century, they keep integrating, they keep spreading itihasas amongst various groups, including the Meiteis, including the Apatanis, including the groups which live in now Anzor district and Dibang district of Arunachal Pradesh. Even 60 years ago, Mizoram, which by then had been almost completely converted to Christianity, had entire Ramayana in oral. They even had different names for Ram and Sita, which meant that they had, in their own language, in Mizo language, which meant that they had completely integrated that epic. So this attitude that we do not expand is very new. It is not a virtue. It is actually, we should leave that. We should promote what we consider as the central idea. That is how the civilizational integrity of our country, of our civilization will also be maintained. So you see this idea repeated, and that's where I end. You see this idea being repeated all over Northeast India, if I am talking just about that. There is Ramayana we did a conference around 12 years ago, Ramayana in Northeast India. And Ramayana was found almost in every single tribe. Tribes which did not even have scripts, and yet they had oral text of Itihasa, Ramayana and Mahabharata. We were just there with the hill tribes. And had we strived more, they would be more well integrated and they would be better off right now than they are in a situation in which they are right now. Upper Assam and Upper Arunachal is famed as the Maika of Rukmini. Meitei is the famed Manipur of Mahabharata, and there is not one, because Hindus are very comfortable with the idea of having 2 or 3 sacred places. Again, that's a process of sacralization. I myself have been to 3 places where Shabri fed the berries to Ram. And all of them, because my attitude, I was looking at my own culture from a foreigner eye. I said, which is the original one? This happened with me in Chamba too. Chamba has Mani Mahesh Kailash. Kailash is not just one. There are many Kailashas. 2 Kailashes, 3 in Uttarakhand and 2 in Himachal Pradesh. I was going with my driver, and he suddenly said, he was reticent, he did not speak much. Then he said, with the next turn, we will see the great Kailasha. So I said, is it the original Kailasha? Are we that far? Are we near China? And then he looked at me with eyes which showed that, what ignorant man. What is this concept of original Kailasha? Kailash is Kailasha. And then he replied, Kailash is Kailasha. So we have this concept of sacralization with which we sacralized all of Bharatvarsh. Otherwise, there would be no Kanchipuram because it's built on the idea of Kashi. There would be no Madurai. It's built on the idea of Mathura. There would be no Ayutthaya in Thailand, which was the capital of Thailand, if there was no this idea. So the Meiteis, the Tripuris, the tribes of Arunachal Pradesh and the tribes of Upper Assam, not just tribes, but the people who live there, all of them are invigorated by the idea of our itihasas. That is how you integrate other people into your idea of Sanatan Dharma, your idea of civilization, and also give them more. That is the idea that we should have continued with. And if we have a civilizational lens, if we have this, then the cost of defending our territory will also be much, much less in human terms and in cultural and financial terms. For example, I'll end with that. There were 2 great biologists, Ken Miata and Adrian Forsyth, who went to rainforest and analyzed 100 square kilometer of an area of rainforest. And they said that if you put what they do for nature, what they do for your ecosystem, if you try to convert them, monetize them in money, then the cost comes to billions of dollars every year, just a patch of 100 square kilometer. Similarly, in the space of culture, what culture provides you, if you have civilizational, cultural, religious integrity, then the cost of defending the territorial integrity is much less. In human terms, ultimately, it is the most peaceful means of maintaining the borders and maintaining the center, maintaining Swambodh and maintaining Shatrubodh. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj. To reclaim the glory of Bharata, we all need to know who we are, right? We don't face an identity crisis like Pakistan, who would say, we were part of India before, or like the America, who only has a history of 250 years. Only thing for us is to just know who we are. And that's where people like you, whom I call intellectual Kshatriyas, are required. These are people to make us realize who we are. And so really thank you for that. And as I say about reclaiming the glory of Bharat, we need the rule of law, which Sir spoke about in terms of internal security and how he played that role to make Mumbai a safe city. We need something where we have glory and we have pride in ourselves, and that's where Pankaj Sir spoke about it. A third speaker whom we have is going to speak about how we protect ourselves from our enemies outside as well. Right? So the next speaker whom we have today is a retired Lieutenant General of the Indian Army, a renowned strategic thinker, a prolific writer, and a distinguished academician. He has served the nation with distinction and valor in various capacities, both in the field and in the policy domain. He has been at the forefront of shaping India's security and foreign policy and has contributed immensely to the discourse on national and international affairs. Please join me in welcoming Lieutenant General Dr. Prakash Menon. Something about Sir. General Menon has a remarkable career spanning over 4 decades in the Indian Army. He has participated in several operations and missions, including the Swarajya Glacier at the line of control in Kashmir, Kargil, and Ladakh. He has commanded a battalion, brigade, and a counter-insurgency force in different parts of Kashmir. He also held important staff appointments at various levels of the army. General Menon has also served in key positions in the government of India. He was the commandant of the National Defence College, New Delhi, where he mentored senior officers and civil servants from India and abroad. He was appointed as the first military advisor and secretary to Government of India in the National Security Council Secretariat at New Delhi from May 2011 to 2014. He was instrumental in providing strategic guidance and input to the Prime Minister and the National Security Advisor on various security issues. From March 2015 till March 2017, he was the officer on special duty at the NSCS, where he continued to play a vital role in shaping India's national security policy. General Menon is not only a distinguished soldier but also a scholar and an author. He has been awarded PhD from the Madras University for his thesis on India's nuclear strategy. He has written several books, articles, reports, and papers on various topics related to security, strategy, geopolitics, defense, nuclear issues, and so on. He is an author of the book The Strategic Trap, India and Pakistan Under the Nuclear Shadow, which is a comprehensive analysis of the nuclear dynamics between India and Pakistan. He is also the co-author of Non-Alignment 2 and India's Path to Power, Strategy in a World of Adrift, which are influential documents that propose a strategic vision for India in the changing world order. He also writes a weekly column for The Print, where he offers his insights and perspective on current affairs. General Menon is currently associated with several prestigious institutes as a faculty member, researcher, and advisor. He is the Director Strategic Studies Program at the Takshashila Institute, Bangalore, where he leads a team of scholars and analysts who work on various aspects of India's strategic interest. He is also Professor Emeritus at Transdisciplinary University and Adjunct Professor at the National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, where he teaches and guides students and researchers on various subjects related to security studies. General Menon is a rare combination of a soldier, a strategist, a scholar, and a writer. He has made significant contribution to India's security and foreign policy, as well as to the academic and intellectual discourse on national and international issues. He is widely respected and admired for his expertise, experience, wisdom, and vision. We are honored to have you, sir. We are all please welcome Lieutenant General Dr. Prakash Menon.
Namaskara. I say this on purpose because what I normally hear here is namaste. And to make the point that in India we greet each others in different languages, in different styles. But the greeting which actually comes to me naturally, in which I have been brought up, is the word Jai Hind. That is how we greeted each other in my regiment. I am from the infantry. We do the heavy lifting in combat. We are the ones who are supposed to close up with the enemy and destroy him. And I belong to a regiment called the Brigade of the Guards, raised by then Chief General Cariappa, later Field Marshal, as the first infantry regiment which has an all India class composition. It was the first time that a regiment was raised where we discarded the idea of regiments which we had inherited from the British colonial times of being based on the so-called absolutely nonsensical notion of martial races. That is why we are neither Rajputs, neither are we Maharis, neither are we Madrasis, but neither are we Rajputana Rifles. We are the Brigade of the Guards. And we are proud of that because we represent, without discrimination, the soldiers which belong to all over the country. We do not discriminate on region, on caste, nor on religion. Unfortunately, the old infantry regiments continue to hold on to them, and that sort of division still exists. But that is because to get India to change is not an easy task. The point is, we believe, and that's in my blood, that we as people who wear the uniform has no loyalty to any religion, caste or region. We have only one loyalty, and which is to the Constitution of India, for which we are called on to protect. And that is why the Indian Armed Forces, unlike any other force, has as its commander-in-chief the President of India. It might be on paper a valueless thing, but in spirit it carries a large message, because the military instrument is the last wall of defense when anybody attacks the Constitution of India. We were supposed to uphold that. Of course, not that the military will take law in its own hands. We will still answer to the executive and finally the ultimate loyalty lies with the President. These are not things which we can take lightly, because these are meanings, although we might even not know about it. But I would like to educate these young men here that the military cannot anyway do anything on its own. It has to follow the orders of the political seniors, and we are proud that we are an apolitical military. So before I get any further with internal security, let me tell you a story, since I am at the IIT Kharagpur. So this story is about some engineering students from a famous IIT in some place. You can imagine which place it is. I don't want to say it is from Kharagpur. Who actually was out on a field trip, and their field tasking was to learn to carry out survey using various survey instruments like the theodolite and so on. So they were taken. It was a fairly high hillock. They had set up their instruments. They were organizing themselves to get on to the job. Their instructors or this thing had briefed them. When there was a village close by, so some Very curious young men from the village sort of went there and started watching these guys. And these people were actually getting into action. And then one of them couldn't help himself. So he approached these students and asked them, could you please tell us, what are you doing? So the hotty-totty IIT guy looked at this rustic group with certain haughtiness which comes naturally and said, you don't understand it, forget about it. So then one guy said, we belong to that famous college, in that famous place. We have come here, we're doing survey, we've got all these instruments, theodolite and all, which you guys will not understand. And we are trying to actually see that if we have to plan a road across this hillock, which is the best way to actually plan it. And he explained something called what is the optimum slope and so on. So, after some time, one guy went and told them, oh, if you want to plan this, then we have got a better method. Now, obviously, the engineering students had to take this challenge. Okay, tell us. Oh, if we have to plan a road like this, what you guys are doing, then we'll get hold of a bag of white powder, chalk. Then we'll get hold of a stick. Then we'll get hold of a donkey. Then we'll put the bag on the donkey. Then we will take the donkey to the foot of this hill. Then we'll make a hole in the sack. Then we will hit the donkey and the donkey will find the optimum slope. So, I mean, you can imagine that if you and me were in their place, what would they feel? Because there was a certain rustic, indigenous idea to this, which cannot be possibly be ignored. So one of the smart students said, okay, what will you do if you don't have a donkey? So those guys were, till one guy got up and said, oh, if we don't have a donkey, we'll go looking for an engineer. So after this, you can shoot the general because obviously this sort of generals requires to be shot. But I'm telling you this story for a simple reason. Suppose imagine that this is a story concocted by a fertile brain of a 72-year-old wanting to actually crack a joke at the beginning of a talk. And let's say this story travels down in time, mostly carried through lips. Somebody then writes about it and changes it. You think that this story will remain in its original way over a course of time? Very difficult. There will be many changes. There will be many more nuances. And probably all those guys who are not engineers will probably make it much more than what it is. And therefore, why am I telling you this? Because I think that when we actually go back in time and investigate our ancient roots, our knowledge base, our indigenous knowledge systems, we must be careful that we do not conflate mythology and call it Itihas to say they are the same. They cannot be the same. They just cannot. It has to be different. Not that mythology is bad, not that history is bad, but we have to be aware of this difference. And why do we have to be aware? Because especially when it comes to actually utilizing any story to either get people together or to divide them or to do whatever you want, because that is the means by which stories has been useful in human affairs. That is why human beings can cooperate in very large numbers because they believe in a common story, or they can be divided by stories which actually conflict with each other. It is in storytelling that the leaders get people together, are enabled to divide. This is history. And the strongest is always when the story is so good that it helps larger numbers to cooperate, that the world is better off. If the story is about dividing people, then it's not a healthy thing. So when we have stories about nothing that there's anything wrong with telling stories, from a security point of view, especially with a nation like ours. And I must tell you one more thing. My regimental battle cry, and battle cry is something when we actually go close to the enemy, and this is what we shout. And this is in a regiment which was raised in 1948. So the first guy says, Garud Kahu. And then everybody shouts, Bol Pyare. And then everybody shouts, Bharat Mata Ki Jai. That is how the battle cry goes. So this idea that something new is being sought, that it is either or that it is India or Bharat, does not unite, it divides. Because both are there in the Constitution. The only thing is, if the President of India is to send an invite to a foreign dignitary, and if the invite says President of India or President of Bharat, then there is a problem there, because if it is written in Hindi, Bharat ki Rashtrapati, that would be constitutionally correct. But these are nuances, but they are political messages. What I'm saying is, all the stories which we'll hear of the past, which we are trying to actually translate and take out of, should help us to actually cohere, not to divide. Because internal security is all about maintaining unity. No nation can possibly be strong unless it has internal unity. In terms of threats, the greatest threat is always internal weakness, which also combines or converges with an external threat, which is internally also supported. These combinations are the worst. You can apply this now to what is happening in India itself, or Bharat. You can see that we have a major threat not from Pakistan but from China. But that threat itself, we must understand the nature of that threat. The nature of that threat is not about coming and invading us. We are too big and too strong to be invaded. They can bite here, they can take some land here, that's all they can do. They can obviously send some missiles and damage, but we are too strong and we can also hit back. So it is not about invasion. It is about the combination of the pressure which they can exert with the internal divides which can happen, a potential there which lies in the subsurface or sometimes rises to the surface of India's polity. Anything which divides the country, which creates tensions in between, must be avoided, especially at this point of geopolitical landscape which prevails. You just look at the world in complete turmoil. The shadow of war hangs over so many parts of the world that it's not funny anymore. And then there is also nuclear weapons. There is so much of actually, nobody really knows. I mean, what can happen when all these big guys start fighting? So this is the time actually to preserve and strengthen internal unity, not to weaken it. And for India, we must understand that the greatest cause and the vulnerability lies in our religious divide. It has always been the case. Haven't we learned from history? What are we trying to recreate it? Are we now wanting to think that we want to be a theocratic state? Not I'm saying that we want to be, but garbed and masquerading as actually believing in a slogan which talks about the universal family, but in practice actually doing all the things which is causing friction within the country. This is not the time, even if you believe it is correct. I make this appeal as a strategist. This is not the time. We have got more problems outside coming into us, and we are in a state of development where we have a lot of people to move out of poverty, unemployment, and in health. We haven't been there as yet. We have the potential. We should not, therefore, especially in political terms, try to take and use religion as the vehicle to political power, although that is what all parties, not only Singh, have been trying to do for quite some time. It is time that they realized the dangers which prevail. I mean, just look at Manipur. Manipur is located in a very, very sensitive part of the Indian state, especially since Myanmar is now practically under the thumbnail of China. Why would China not actually feather or fan the flames in Manipur? Because we are giving them an opportunity. The state is absent there, or the state is actually complicit. It is taking sides, and yet nothing has been done. The chief minister continues to be there. The police and the army cannot, the army and the CAPFs cannot operate because 19 police stations are still don't have the armed forces protection to give to the armed forces to operate. They require the local guys who are actually partisan. So we don't seem to take the dangers of the combination which we have to watch for. We still trying to plow the same field with very narrow vision. Internal security is always been our greatest threat. It will always continue to be so. We are too big, I repeat this, to be invaded and our country to be taken over by anybody else. And we are too strong for that also. So it's time that the political leadership across political domains realize the gravity of the situation, look at it differently, sink their differences, hold their fire. They can continue to practice and reach the whatever story they want to actually sell. But what is being done now and what we have is, I would think, not for the good health of the country. But there is nothing absolutely wrong for us to look back at our ancient civilizational history, our scriptures, our writings, and that should be the work of academia or the practitioners who are now academicians. Let them find out that what ancient wisdom can be taken out from there, and that's going to be a very long process. And what is it they can give to the practitioners today who are running the show? How can they equip them better? But to use this to say that any religion is under threat in this country, and therefore we must now revise the Constitution of India. Of course, Vivek Davroy has just written an article about it and started another, pulled another trigger. Even if we have to, this is not the time because it will divide us. And I started by saying namaskara to actually remind myself and to you there is another time bomb ticking away, which will also soon come up on the horizon, which has already started servicing, especially with the Women's Reservation Bill in Parliament. It's called the exercise of delimitation. For those of us who probably are not aware, delimitation is constitutionally mandated. It was to be done in the 70s. Indira Gandhi put it 25 years ahead. Vajpayee has put it 25 years. What is delimitation? We have to rearrange the proportionality of seats in the parliament and assemblies according to the population of the states concerned. The only problem with this is, based on our national policies, population control has been uneven across the country, especially the southern states. Their population has dropped quite a lot. The Indo-Gangetic belt and even West Bengal have all increased. So if delimitation is done as is constitutionally mandated, then the southern states will have to give up a lot of seats to the northern states. And the southern states are now already making the argument, if we followed a national population policy, then why should we be suffering when it comes to representation in the parliament? This is another war which will start already appearing in the landscape of India's national internal security. Is already there because the Women's Reservation Bill has linked the application of that bill to delimitation very cleverly. And this will divide. Because whatever you might say, if you think there is homogeneity in this and if you think that we can have a homogeneous culture in this country, I'm afraid it will not happen. This is my personal view, even if it is united by a common religion, because our religious practices itself is so different. Everything is so different. Apart from the fact that we have a whole huge minorities which also are there. And they are not small minorities, they're fairly large minorities. So the southern and the northern states are probably going to already come into a confrontation. That's not going to be healthy for us. This is going to happen as the global geopolitical situation, which is already on a trajectory of hitting a coalition point which nobody can actually determine. So unless we are blind to our own problems and to the problems of the world, we might be in trouble. I don't want to be ending on a negative note, because I believe that we have the strength, we have the wisdom, we will take things to the brink, but we'll never allow it to topple over. That somewhere our political leaders and the people who matter will see the whole picture holistically, will combine actually the lens of external threats, internal threats, and see that we might have to change direction. I'm hopeful that will happen. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir. It is a leader's job and it is a leader's quality to have foresight and give the people insight into the future. And thank you, sir, as being someone. In fact, I think we'll remove the post. And if I will take a quick 1 minute, if someone can answer this question, there is a designation which was mentioned. In fact, I would say that's an award it's an award, and I would say it's a privilege to a very few people in this country, which it says. Does anyone know what it means? PVSM, AVSM, and VSM. Anyone? Absolutely. So, thank you. I would say it's only the people who are there who are. I wouldn't.
But I must tell you this. Actually, these are all what you call distinguished service awards. The one in which, when I was a company commander at Beijing on the Siachen Glacier, which is the largest, the highest battlefield in the world, I was recommended actually for a Sena medal. But there is a system, and finally I got what is called a GOCNC's commendation card. Actually, to me, that is my most
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to have you here. As we move on, we'll move on with the panel discussion. But before we go on, I'm going to take another minute of yours and do something and talk about someone we all know him. We all know him. We all love him. But do we know who he is? What has he done? Do we know his background? Right? So I'm going to talk about someone, all right, who is a moderator for the event. He's an alumnus of our own IIT Kharagpur, founder and board member of Pan IIT India, a former naval officer, a web marketing expert, a consultant, a coach, a writer, and a mentor. Anyone? What's the name? Commander VK Jaitly. Yes, absolutely. Let me give you a little background about Commander Jaitly. Commander Jaitly has a remarkable academic and professional background. He's graduated from our own IIT Kharagpur with BTech honors in ENEC and MTech in satellite communication. He's also completed his MBA project in web marketing. He's an active member of IIT Kharagpur alumnus community, advisor to the Technology Students Gymkhana, TSG as we call it, SC School of Quality and Reliability, and advisory board member at the Partha Academy of Leadership, IIT Kharagpur. Commander Jatli has also served the nation with distinction and valor in the Indian Navy for 25 years. He has held various positions of responsibility and leadership in naval services. He has also held an All India Motorcycle Rally and OIC for a car rally from Kanyakumari to Delhi. He has written 7 articles and given lectures at national and international forums on various topics related to defense, security, technology, leadership, etc. Commander Jatli has also been a successful consultant, coach, writer, and mentor for the corporate world. He has worked as Cisco Systems government and defense consultant for India and SAARC region, where he educated Indian Defense Forces about SWANs and network-centric warfare. He was also the founder dean of the JP University of Information Technology in Solan. He also serves on Washington DC's India America Today Board of Advisors. Commander Jatli is not only a distinguished alumnus, a veteran officer, a web marketing expert, but also a passionate and inspirational speaker. He is known for his motivation and leadership skills. We all know about it, and we all love hearing him all the time. He's a rare combination of a technocrat, a patriot, a strategist, a writer, and a thinker. He has made significant contribution in India's defense and security, as well as to the education and development of the youth. He is widely respected and admired for his knowledge, experience, wisdom, and vision. We all are honored to have him as our alumni at IIT Kharagpur. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator for the day, Commander VK Jatli, sir. And I would request all our other speakers to please join on the stage.
Thank you, Pranav. Time is very, very short now. We will finish at dot in time. We will not take any more time. So, the great speakers have given their views. Really, I am really delighted what they said. I'm going to repeat a little bit, but not much.
When we talk about the security of the country, you know, 4 areas में security चाहिए होती है. One is on the border. One is internal security. और एक है distributed security challenges all over the world. उसमें आज कनाडा भी है, यूके भी है, यूएसए भी है, चाइना भी है, पाकिस्तान भी है. सब जगह दुश्मन बैठे हुए हैं हमारे. और आज हिंदुस्तान के लोग या कोई भी अज्ञात फोर्सेस उनको एक एक करके ठोक रहे हैं. पढ़ रहे होंगे आप लोग व्हाट्सएप के ऊपर भी और टीवी के ऊपर भी. पिछले 6 महीने में 8 लोगों का अंतकाल कर दिया गया है 6 महीने के अंदर, और टोटल 11 लोगों को मार दिया गया है. हरविंदर रिंडा पाकिस्तान, हैप्पी संगेड़ा इटली, बशीर अहमद पाकिस्तान में, परमजीत पंजवार खालिस्तान का पाकिस्तान में, खालिद रजा पाकिस्तान में, अवतार खांडा इंग्लैंड में, एजाज अहमद अफगानिस्तान में, सैयद नूर अफगानिस्तान में, हरदीप निजर कनाडा में. एक एक करके मारे जा रहे हैं. कोई तो मार रहा है. और जहां तक हमारा बॉर्डर का सवाल है, लेट मी एश्योर यू 100%, जैसा कि जनरल प्रकाश जी ने कहा कि ये लोग बाइट कर सकते हैं, छोटा मोटा हिंदुस्तान को डैमेज नहीं कर सकते. एंड लेट मी टेल यू, अवर आर्मी, एयरफोर्स, नेवी, all the 3 are so strong, we can, you know, thrash these people on the border easily. अब रही बात एक ही सिर्फ, वो है इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी की. उसके लिए each one of you are a soldier, let me tell you. Each one of you. आपको अपने eyes and ears एकदम खोल के रखने हैं. कहीं पर भी कुछ गड़बड़ हो सकती है. मैं अभी कश्मीर गया था 2 महीने पहले. एक मुफ्ती मोहम्मद, क्या नाम है उसका, लेडी का, जिसने बीजेपी के साथ ज्वाइन किया था गवर्नमेंट, महबूबा मुफ्ती और उमर अब्दुल्ला, ये लोग कहते थे कि अगर 370 खत्म कर दिया तो जम्मू कश्मीर में कोई तिरंगा झंडा उठाने वाला नहीं मिलेगा. मैं कश्मीर वैली खूब घुमा दबा करके पूरा 1 हफ्ता, चारों तरफ तिरंगे झंडे लगे हुए हैं, फर्स्ट क्लास चारों तरफ. तो जिन्होंने जम्मू कश्मीर की प्रॉब्लम को सॉर्ट आउट कर दिया 370, तो सर ये मणिपुर वाला हमारे लिए बड़ी छोटी चीज है. बड़े आराम से सॉर्ट आउट हो चुकी है काफी हद तक, और बाकी भी हो जाएगी. तो मैं इनको कोई बहुत ज्यादा महत्व नहीं देता. प्रॉब्लम्स होती रहती हैं. वी आर सच ए ह्यूज कंट्री. आज पंजाब में भी थोड़े से खालिस्तानी एलिमेंट वो पंगा कर रहे हैं, वो भी सीधे हो रहे हैं, लाइन के ऊपर आ रहे हैं. जब देखा कि पीपल आर जस्ट डिसअपियरिंग ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड, दे आर आल्सो नाउ कंसर्न्ड, यार हाउ दे आर डिसअपियरिंग. इवन पाकिस्तान में हाफिज सईद, उसका बेटा, वो भी अभी 4 दिन पहले गायब, एंड सडनली पता चला उसकी लाश वहां पर मिल गई है. सो दिस इज ए न्यू इंडिया जेंटलमैन, न्यू इंडिया. बट यू हैव टू बी अलर्ट, रिमेंबर दैट. नाउ मैं बड़े थोड़े से क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा. कुछ साल पहले सर, दिल्ली में एक यूनिवर्सिटी है जेएनयू, वहां पर नारे लगे थे, भारत तेरे टुकड़े होंगे इंशाअल्लाह इंशाअल्लाह. आई जस्ट वांट योर व्यूज, हाउ टू हैंडल सच एलिमेंट्स, हाउ कैन वी एक्सेप्ट सच थिंग्स इन अवर यूनिवर्सिटीज. आई जस्ट वांट योर एडवाइस सर.
I thought you'll ask the policeman and not the military. But that's his job, not mine. So I suggest you answer that, because it's not the military. Okay, right. I mean, it's a politically loaded question, so let me answer it.
No, sir, it's not a politically loaded. Fact is, our universities, our colleges, we should be teaching them about the country, about the attachment with the country. Bharat tere tukde honge. People can have differences with the government, but people can't talk about the country in these words.
You know, freedom of expression is guaranteed under the Constitution of India. And that is something which can be misused. It is misused by all political parties, by all people who actually agitate. But we are very selective about who we take action against. We discriminate on those grounds depending upon the party in power. That is the politics of India. To say what is right and what is wrong depends upon who is in power. The party in power decides what is right and wrong. So that's the natural state of the political landscape. So let's not get carried away by actually putting people into categories. ये सब एक ही खेत के मूली हैं. And therefore, this particular thing which happened in JNU, obviously action had to be taken because this is not something which is acceptable under the Constitution of India. And I presume action was taken. And there are a whole lot of other naras, even by the political party in power, even by their political leaders. I don't want to quote them, who actually have said worse things or as bad things as them. No action will be taken because they are in power. That is the nature of politics. When you are in power, you can get away with murder. You have to understand that. When you are out of power, you are in trouble. And that's what democracies do. They violate with impunity based on principles because you control everything. You control the criminal justice system. And if you have actually sort of undermined the system itself by undermining the police force, the investigation agencies, the judiciary, then you are in complete control. You can get away with murder. And that is where India's democracy is at this point in time. Not for the first time. Not only by this party in power, it has been done before. It is in the nature of Indian politics. But for people of us who have to make a judgment, please don't get carried away that they are good guys and bad guys. ये सब जितने भी है, by my experience, and I'm old enough, ये सब एक ही खेत के मूली है.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The only thing is, I just want to caution, political differences are acceptable everywhere. We are a democracy, perfectly all right. और देश के विरुद्ध जो भी आवाज उठाएगा उसकी जुबान खींच लेनी चाहिए. No freedom of speech for such people. No freedom of speech for such people. देश का गद्दार means गद्दार. उसको गोली से इलाज है उसका और कोई इलाज नहीं है उसका. Pankaj ji, my question to you. There are some people, freedom of religion is perfectly fine. हिंदुस्तान सभी धर्मों का आदर करता है. हम सभी को गले लगाते हैं. हमारे G20 के नीचे बड़ा क्लियर लिखा हुआ है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम. हम सबकी रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं. किसी से अन्याय नहीं करना चाहते. हम लोग हैं जिन्होंने पारसियों के भी बुलाया, ज्यूज को भी बुलाया, सबका स्वागत किया. लेकिन आज मैं देखता हूं कुछ जगहों पर कन्वर्शन जब होता है तो कन्वर्ट होते ही उनकी टोन बदल जाती है. वो एंटी इंडिया शब्द बोलना शुरू कर देते हैं. ये कहां तक सच है और ये क्यों होना चाहिए?
Thank you, sir. It's very true, and I will take just one or two examples to illustrate how it is so. I was in Northeast recently, and the story of Northeast, if you study from 1947 till 2023, illustrates all of those points. We say freedom of religion is allowed in our constitution, in our state, but that is only a one-way route when it comes down to culture and society and on ground. For example, I went to Mizoram, which has only a single airport. Recently, it is called Langpui Airport. The plane lands in front of a huge cross. The airport is Christian. That is somehow very, that idea doesn't discomfort any idea of secularism for anyone, any idea of unity to anyone. There is a tribe called Bru in Mizoram. They are 50,000. Imagine the number, they are just 50,000. They were the last Hindus of Mizoram. The 97% Christian Mizoram state threw them out of Tripura, and our own respected Home Minister Shri Amit Shah ji resettled them quietly in a 90% Hindu state of Tripura, which is the only state in Northeast which could accept them. So it is this freedom of expression is a one-way route. Whenever they are converted to a religion, which religion does not accept your idea of tolerance, your idea of unity, they will use your democracy, your freedom, just like Hitler got elected in Germany. and destroyed all the props of democracy. He used the ladder, climbed that ladder. Once he climbed, destroyed that ladder, made it impossible for any other to climb that ladder of freedom, freedom of expression, freedom of thought again. So the only chink in the armor of freedom of thought and expression is we have to allow all ideas, but not those ideas which seek to destroy the idea of tolerance and freedom of thought and expression. Thank you.
The very idea which destroys your freedom of speech, your concept of tolerance, how can we tolerate such ideas? So the idea which is intolerant itself should not be tolerated. Very clear. Thank you very much. So, they are students, majority of them, and I'm really glad that on a Sunday they are still sitting here when it's going to be about 8 o'clock. So first of all, तो मैं आप सबके लिए ताली बजाना चाहता हूं. सर, आपसे एक गुजारिश है, as ordinary citizens, as ordinary students, as ordinary professors, what advice as a police commissioner you would like to give them? How can they play a part in the internal security of the country?
They have to be aware about their duties as well as the responsibilities which is enshrined in the Indian Constitution. And when they know about a commission of a crime, they are duty bound to inform, otherwise it becomes an offence. And participate anything which is a nation building activity, whether it is a thought process as Pankaj ji said, or you or whatever is the... Ultimately, they have to be true citizens under this constitution and they have to contribute towards the rule of law. We can't ultimately get emotionally charged and take action directly. There is a law and there is a procedure. And as I mentioned earlier, we gave money to the lawyer from India to defend Kasab. Per day, he was paid 20,000 rupees. And for 4.5 years, we gave him a fair trial. A lot of people say, I only brought ITBP to protect that Kasab in that special jail we constructed for him at a huge cost. The bill came 47 crores. Everyone was criticizing as to why this, why that and all. Ultimately, in the international arena, we have to prove that he is from Pakistan, and then we have to also prove that this country is different from others. That we can't hang that fellow in one day like they hung Zulfikar Ali Bhutto or any of those other countries what they do. We gave him a fair trial at a very, very huge cost. That is India, that is Bharat, which is written there in the Indian Constitution. So as students, they have to follow law, whether it is traffic violation. For example, basic respect for women has to start from the house. Women's safety, Shraddha Walkar was cut into 35 pieces by Aftab. Now forget about all other things. The basic respect for a woman has to start from the house, where equality, the girl child and the boy are given the same type of food, same type of education, same type of respect, and it has to start from there. Otherwise, suddenly all these perverts coming there and doing all sorts of things there is absolutely unthinkable. So as students, if there is anything wrong, I remember still a boy called Menon in Mumbai, in Andheri, in some place, cafe, then there was a woman was being molested and he intervened as a very legal, proud Indian youngster should do. He was stabbed to death. But he did his job. He is another martyr. Not that we have to fight only in the border or anti-Naxal or anti-whatever it is. He is also. But then he was truly like an Indian citizen. He was upholding the law in that process. He was trying to see that a woman's modesty was not assaulted. He laid down his life. Doesn't mean that all of us look at this culture today, all youngsters. Anything happening, a girl in Mumbai was jumping from 17th floor. People were busy taking their mobile and taking live streaming all over the world, saying that look at this, what's happening. Nothing was done to persuade her not to jump. Love, failure, nothing else, Any people could have, nothing, no safety net, no nothing was done. She was allowed to jump, but people were very busy. In an accident, what happens? Does anyone give a ring to ambulance or a police control room? It is simply 100 number. Inform and go. We don't. We using mobile and take video and upstream, downstream, all that we do. That is where student community and others have to be very, very live as citizens, and we have to protect the rule of law at any cost. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Very good advice, excellent advice. 8 बजने वाले हैं. मैंने एक एक क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया तीनों से, और मैं एक छोटा सा इकबाल का एक शेर है, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, क्यों रहा है दुश्मन गोरे जमा हमारा, साथ से अच्छा हिंदोस्तां हमारा, हम बुलबुलें हैं इसकी, ये गुलसिता हमारा. इसके मैं आप सबका थैंक यू करता हूं सर, धन्यवाद. एंड आई कैन एश्योर यू इंडिया इज इन सेफ हैंड्स टुडे. आज से 10 साल पहले कभी रेलवे में बम ब्लास्ट होता था, कभी सूरत में होता था, कभी हॉस्पिटल में होता था, कहीं पर बड़े बाजारों में होता था. टुडे थिंग्स आर मच बेटर, मच बेटर. Let's maintain that with your alertness, with everybody's alertness, with everybody's alertness. हिंदुस्तान हमारा है और हिंदुस्तान पूरी दुनिया में डंका बजा रहा है और ये डंका बजाता रहेगा. और यहाँ पर एक और चीज मैं बता दूं आपको, जब मैं आपकी उम्र का था, यंग थे, हम जब बाहर जाते थे तो लोग कहते थे ए he's from India. आज भी बोलते हैं ऐसे ही, लेकिन थोड़ा स्टाइल चेंज हो गया है. अब बोलते हैं हे he's from India. And that is India, which is booming today. Bharat Mata ki, Bharat Mata ki, Bharat Mata ki. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The students are interested in some more interaction, if you may permit us, sir. We'll stay back for a few minutes, and if you have certain questions and would like to ask our distinguished guests something.
Sir, what are your views on the incident of the Wrestling Federation of India, Mr. Brijbhushan Singh, that happened, the rape allegations and the outreaching the modesty of a minor that he caused? What are your views on that?
See, what happened there, just because some individual, I'm not talking about that particular person, whoever is in power, if he's doing that, he has to face the rule of law, as I mentioned. What should have happened is that police should have registered a case, whoever it is. You know, as per the law, even we can file a criminal case against the Prime Minister of the country. Only the President and the Governor, while they are in the office, we can't file any crime against them while they are in the office. After that, we can do that. So, if that is the law, we are using this law. Like George Orwell wrote in his book that all animals in this animal farm are equal, but some animals are more equal than the others. So, this animal whom you mentioned is more equal than the others. So, we are mollycoddling such kind of people. What happened is a travesty of justice. We have to go to the Supreme Court of Law to say that an FIR be registered? FIR. And what is FIR? What kind of a strong FIR the Delhi police will register? And what will they investigate? What the charge sheeting they do? There is no control on that at all. What kind of an FIR is registered against the powerful people? We do know how people get out of blue murder. We know that, what's happening in this country. So that is the kind of a thing. Then even the Supreme Court, they open the gates of justice at the middle of the night and give immediate justice. But there is a journalist called that guy who came from Kerala to Hathras. He didn't even go there. 5,000 rupees he had and the money laundering case was registered, and 2.5 years he spent behind the bars, and ultimately Justice Lalit, CJI, had to give him bail. The case is not closed. Bail. An MLA called Kisan Sangar in UP, Unnao, is the place where he rapes and does molestation of a 19-year-old, and his father was arrested by the police and assaulted to death in the police station. And then she threatens to commit self-immolate in the CM's office. And after all that jagada, a case was registered, and what all happened? The press pursued and things like that. You know what happened. So that way, people in power take all these things for granted. And particularly women, particularly this kind of vulnerable people who are in the sports and officers, corporate and all that, the kind of things with Tarun Tejpal, you know what happened to Tarun Tejpal? That girl is his daughter's classmate. Imagine what all he did. The Goa court, analyzed her character and her behavior, acquitted him. What a shame. It has gone in appeal, but when it will come, when she will get justice, we just don't know. So that is the answer for you. Thank you.
Any other question? Yes, please. Udhar.
Yeah.
ये पीछे इधर ही थे सामने.
Namaste, sir. My question is with Honorable Lieutenant General P. Menon, sir. Sir, in your speech, you mentioned about the delimitations linked to the Women Reservation Bill. As far as, please shed your light on my knowledge, and that according to the Article 82 of the Constitutions of India, the Parliament by law enacts delimitation act after every census. So, sir, anyway, after next census, delimitations will be there across the pan India. So, is it should we link women reservation with the delimitations and your concern about the north and south divide problems in future?
It is not a question of should we link, it has been linked with the way the Women's Reservation Bill has been passed in Parliament. So it is not a choice here. The BJP government has decided to link it. In fact, that was one of the complaints, that why have you linked it with the delimitation. As per the constitutional provision, delimitation has to take place by 2026. But the problem is, and it's a political problem, it is not a legal problem, that the southern states are unlikely to accept this, because it means that they have to give up, and if you see the numbers of seats they have to give up, because the population ratios have galloped in comparison to the southern states. It's galloped. So the number of seats, which means you have less seats in parliament than you had, because you followed a policy which was a national family planning policy. So they are saying, why should we be penalized for following a policy where these guys who did not follow are going to benefit? It's a political problem. It has to be solved politically.
Yeah.
There are no easy solutions to it. If there is wisdom, this can generate, let me tell you, these are all fault lines within the country. Religion, north-south divide, they dance in the shadows. They are in subsurface. Politicians are very good at bringing this up and using it for political power. Remember this. Not any party, every party does it.
So we have to be very
That is
careful.
why the problem.
We have to be very careful about this. Great, sir. Thank you.
सर मैं एक चीज जानना चाहता था, जैसा कि आज के युग में देखा जा रहा है कि भारत सरकार सब कुछ प्राइवेटाइजेशन करता जा रहा है, हर एक इंस्टॉलेशन को प्राइवेटाइजेशन करता जाता है, चाहे रेल हो, ऑर्डिनेंस डिपो, कोई भी हो, डिफेंस हो, हर जगह प्राइवेट हो रहा है. तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर जितना भी प्राइवेट इंस्टॉलेशन गवर्नमेंट बनाता जा रहा है, वहां जो लोग प्राइवेट में काम कर रहे हैं, मैनिंग कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस में, गवर्नमेंट जो वेजेस देता है उनको, मान लीजिए गवर्नमेंट 18,000 20,000 वेजेस देता है, लेकिन उनके हाथ में पैसा उतना नहीं पहुंच रहा है सर, जस्ट 50% पहुंच रहा है. बीच का पैसा कहां जा रहा है, वो उनको किस तरह से मिले, वो पैसा कहां से मिले, क्या सॉल्यूशन है आपका पास में, काइंडली गाइड, उसके लिए आप थोड़ा गाइड करिए.
ओके, मैं रिप्लाई देता हूं इसका. बैठिए प्लीज. देखिए, प्राइवेटाइजेशन की बात जो है पिछले लगभग 25-30 सालों से चल रही है, और 25-30 सालों से कई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन प्राइवेटाइज हुई हैं. मेजॉरिटी ऑफ देम दे हैव स्टार्टेड प्रोड्यूसिंग प्रॉफिट आल्सो. जो नेगेटिव में जा रही थी, हजारों करोड़ों का माइनस में जा रहा था, वो सब पॉजिटिव में आ रहा है. एंड दोज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो बंद होने के कगार पे थी, वो भी कई प्रॉफिट देना शुरू कर दिया है. और उस डर के मारे कुछ पीएसयू भी जो माइनस में जा रहे थे, उन्होंने भी अब काम करना शुरू कर दिया है. दे हैव कम आउट ऑफ द रेड. HAL, they have started producing very good. BL उन्होंने बड़ा अच्छा काम करना शुरू कर दिया है. BHEL they have started producing good. Air India जो एकदम नेगेटिव में जा रहा था, thousands of crores they have earned the money. So मेरे ख्याल से ये जो आपने बताई है कुछ हद तक इसमें तथ्य है, तो गवर्नमेंट को थोड़ी चाबी देनी पड़ेगी ऐसे लोगों को जो लोगों को एक्सप्लॉइट कर रहे हैं. मिनिमम वेजेस है, उस टाइप की चीजें जो है. I fully agree. Something should be done to correct that.
My first question is regarding immigrants. So India, I believe, is not a signatory till now to the United Nations whatever immigrants policy is there. So a few time back we saw that the problem of Rohingyas was there in our country. So how to tackle this these people who are victims of ethnic wars in other nations and are coming to our country? I mean, I understand that there is an excessive pressure on the resources, our limited resources, but on top of that, internal security is also compromised with. And the second question is on fake news. So recently...
Basically, problem of Rohingya, how to sort it out. That's all.
So, to portray Rohingyas as the victims of ethnic cleansing is factually very wrong. You can read the report of an international organization like Amnesty International. Inside Bangladesh, they have done a genocide of Hindus who were unfortunate enough to be left in there. 850 Hindus killed in a single village. They were found in mass graves. This is a report of Amnesty International. There is violence between Rohingyas and the Myanmar government inside Myanmar. But that is a very different case. In the last violence that happened between them and the army of Myanmar, there were 40 coordinated attacks on the government. Now, an extremely victimized minority, which Rohingyas are portrayed as, cannot coordinate 40 attacks against a military government like the government of Myanmar is. They did that. Second thing, they say that they are being discriminated by the Buddhist monks because of their religion. If that is so, they should have found a very good refuge in Bangladesh, who are their core religionists. They did not. They passed over entire Bangladesh, came to India, reached Delhi and Jammu and Kashmir. So that case is an entirely different case to portray them. Yes, there is violence against them and by them in Myanmar, but in other cases, they have done extreme violence and genocide, mass massacre of other unfortunate groups and communities, religions who are found with them. So that fact I wanted to answer.
Thank you, Pankaj. You know which is the सबसे छोटी minority कौन है इंडिया में? Parsis. आज तक सुना कभी उनकी कोई प्रॉब्लम हुई हो किसी के साथ? किसी के साथ नहीं हुई प्रॉब्लम आज तक पारसियों की. जैनियों की सुना कभी प्रॉब्लम हुई हो किसी के साथ? कभी नहीं हुई. सिखों की कभी प्रॉब्लम हुई हो? मैं खालिस्तानियों की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं सिखों की बात कर रहा हूं. Remember that. They are two different things. Sikhs and Khalistanis. सिखों की कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुई आज तक हिंदुस्तान में. और आज रोहिंग्या की जो संख्या है वो जैनियों से भी ज्यादा हो चुकी है. पारसियों से तो ज्यादा है ही, और शायद सिखों से भी ज्यादा हो चुकी हो. कितने लोग आ चुके हैं, जैसे कि हमारा पोरस बॉर्डर खुला हुआ है उनके लिए. एंड दिस गोइंग ऑन फॉर लास्ट सम 1971 से शुरू हो गया था. पहले बांग्लादेशी आए बहुत सारे, और उसके बाद फिर ये पीछे पीछे आते गए. तो वी हैव टू बी अलर्ट टू दिस थिंग्स.
I just want to raise a question regarding the Manipur violence. So it's been 5 months. So in this 5 months violence, almost 200 plus people were dead. Above 60,000 families were displaced, and more than 5,000 houses were burnt. So after how many people's death, and after how many houses were burnt, so after how many displaced families were considered, so after that, after how many amounts of this violence will it be considered a major issue? Because during the session, I just heard that Manipur issue is a minor issue. So, and again, sir, do you agree with the silence of the Prime Minister of India? So, is it Manipur not a part of India?
Got it. Got it. Manipur is very much integral part of India. Very good question. Manipur हमारा है, हिंदुस्तान का है. There is no doubt about that. And as far as the problem is concerned, the problem does exist, but it is under control at present. तो problems को control कैसे करना है, उसके ऊपर सारे एक्शन लिए जा रहे हैं। वो जो है वहां पर खेती होती थी ना, वो किस चीज की, अफीम पॉपी की, वो सारी की सारी बंद हो चुकी है, पॉपी की खेती। और दैट वाज द बिगेस्ट कंसर्न। और साथ में सर ने बताया कि बॉर्डर के ऊपर चाइना बैठा हुआ है, तो चाइना इज मेकिंग फुल यूज ऑफ दिस प्रॉब्लम, देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट दैट। सो हमको मिलजुल करके रहना है। जो सर ने बोला, प्रकाश मेनन जनरल साहब ने, कि हमारी राष्ट्र के अंदर अपनी एकता जो है वो बहुत जरूरी है, उसको बना करके रखना है। हमको दो गुटों को आपस में लड़वाना नहीं है, उनको एक ही टेबल पे ला करके समझाना है कि भाई साहब, तुम भी हिंदुस्तानी, मैं भी हिंदुस्तानी, तू ठीक है दूसरे कबीले का है, मैं दूसरे कबीले का हूं, हम लोगों को मिलजुल करके रहना है। तुम किसी भी तरह से पूजा करो, यू हैव गॉट द फुल फ्रीडम इस कंट्री के अंदर, लेकिन वी आर ऑल इंडियंस, लेट्स नॉट फॉरगेट दैट। आई एम होपफुल Manipur problem will be totally, completely finished in a very few short time. Yeah.
Manipur is normal? My God. Have you spoken to the people who actually belong to that place, both from the Meitei community and from the Kuki community? There's a completely different picture. What has happened till now is that the Manipur Valley has been practically ethnically cleansed of the Kukis who have gone back to the hill tribes. Then there is violence being inflicted on each other by both the communities. There are about 6,000 to 7,000 weapons which have gone missing from the armories of the police. Not one round was fired to defend and save those rounds. It was handed over. Nothing has been done to recover those weapons, and we call this normalcy. I completely disagree. It is not normal. There's a serious condition there, and it's a very sensitive state, because the politics of Manipur is also linked not only with Myanmar, but also with what has happened in Nagas and with Mizoram.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I have to disagree with both. Yes, it is not normal. Yeah. Yes, it is not normal. And I was there just 15 days ago.
Oh, 15 days.
I was stuck in Imphal for 1 or 2 days because the situation suddenly turned bad overnight. What has happened in Manipur, we are talking about ethnic cleansing, then we really have to. The situation in Manipur is that every hill district is 100% ethnically cleansed of Hindus. There are no Hindus left. There are no Hindus left in valley
Cookies.
and no Hindus left in the hills. Let me tell you about the geography of Manipur. It is called Manipur for a reason. 82% to 85% of the land is hills, and they are all four sides. 10 to 15% of the land is valley, which is at the center. There is no way out. In the center, in 12% of land live 50% of Meitei Hindus. In 88% of hills all around live Naga and Kuki Christians. As the laws stand, Nagas and Kukis have ST status. Meiteis, despite being a tribe, do not have the ST status. All the Christians of the hills can and are buying lands in the 12% land of valley that is left, and they are settling there. But no Hindu Meitei can go even there to the hills. I plan to go from Imphal to Kohima by land route because I knew the exact composition of the hills and their ethnic composition, but even I was wrong. I thought that one road, Meiteis are completely blockaded. The only way out is to fly out of Imphal. Otherwise, they will be lynched to death. There is no no other case. Dominoes, even international chains are airdropping their material to Imphal because they cannot go through the hills. Right now, there is no clash between Nagas and Meiteis. There was before. So I thought that I could take the land route from Imphal to Kohima. But what the Meiteis told me and what the Kukis in Mizoram told me, in last 4 and 5 years, the Kangpokki district, through which the only non-Kuki road from Imphal went to Kohima, has been ethnically cleansed even of Nagas. There are very few Nagas left there. It has been taken over by Kukis, and now Imphal is 100% surrounded by Kukis. There is no way out. If you cannot fly, If you do not have 5,000 rupees instantly, you cannot, if you are a Meitei, and this is India, if you are a Meitei Hindu, if you cannot fly, you cannot get out of your state. Sugar is 500 rupees per kg because there is no road from Assam to Imphal. Petrol sometimes becomes 700 rupees liter because there is no road from Assam to Imphal. So the solution here is we have to create, like Israel did, like Armenia did, a corridor, a protected and fenced Meitei corridor from Imphal to Silchar on one hand and from Imphal to Dimapur through Kohima on the other hand. There is no other solution. Thank you.
पंकज जी, thank you very much. I fully agree because आप 15 दिन पहले वहां से होके आए हैं. So I do believe जो आपकी information is the latest information. So definitely I do agree. The problem is still serious. It's not sorted out. So much more action, as you have suggested, it has to be taken. So let's hope that things will improve in a near future. So with that,
sir, last one question. Can I ask? Just last one question.
One question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is to Pankaj ji. So sir, in between this panel, there was a comment that this all the stories that have been projected as Itihasa are actually mythology, and due to course of time it has been manipulated and used for certain section to oppress certain section. So I would like to get your comment on that.
I wish Ami was there to answer that better, but I will just quote others when I do not know better. So I will quote Vishwadluri. Once somebody said to him, asked him, "Oh, your Hindu mythology, it's not history." He says, "Your answer should be, thank God it is not." Because mythology is a higher discipline than history. Because what we have as myths and legends in our Puranas, it is much more better than history. Of course, we should have a historical sense. Mythology contains more universal truths than history. History can be written by victors. Mythology contains universal Sanatan truths. It is a higher discipline. We should consider it a higher discipline. That's how you spread universal peace and harmony. That's how there is a Kanchipuram, like I said, in Tamil Nadu, because it's based on the idea of Kashi. That's why there is an Ayodhya in Thailand. That's why there is a Jaipur and Irianjai in Indonesia. That's why there is Ma Ganga in Southeast in the form of Mekong, because it's mythology. History would never accept it. Mythology does. Thank you.
Thank you very much. हम टाइम एक्सीड कर लिया. आप लोगों की रिक्वेस्ट पे थोड़े से क्वेश्चन आंसर अच्छा लगा. Thank you very much once again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.